And then we move on to the steering wheel. So the entire centerpiece of the steering wheel was already replaced, and then I had an issue where on full lock it would make like a clicking noise, and it was not the tires that were hitting the wheel wells, so that was a different issue, which I never had with this car. I had it with the P85D, but I have never had it with this car. But anyways, so the steering wheel was making a clicking noise, and they had to replace some bolts in the steering column to get rid of that. Now I don't know how serious of an issue that would have been or would have remained, but bolts in steering wheels or in steering racks, that sounds something like a recipe for disaster if that goes wrong due to excessive wear and tear, let me call it like that. For the next item we move to the rear of the car again, because the license plate holder is not bolted onto the car, but it is stuck onto it with some double-sided tape. Now at one point on one end of the license plate it was getting loose and the license plate was rattling constantly. So they had to fix it, and they fixed it with some new adhesive, and it's been stuck there ever since, even through some car washes that I've gone through. It's never been a problem again, but again it was something that I had to pay a visit to the service center for to get it fixed under warranty. And for the trunk I also had the issue where the lock was not pulling the trunk down anymore. So I could still close it by hand by slamming it shut, and it would still latch. So the latch was not broken in itself. It was the actuator that needed to pull down that last bit for the soft close of the trunk. That has been replaced this week, and that's basically the second issue that I had that was not covered under warranty. So the first one was the entire issue with my battery not being limited or being limited in supercharging speed, so that required some investment on my side for them to go down to the bottom and give me a proper answer as to why I cannot charge at the proper charging speeds anymore. So our next topic is the HVAC system. The car was at the beginning, it wasn't able to actually cool the car down enough, the inside, and it was just not working properly. So I took it in for a check, and they actually vacuumed the AC circuit, or the air conditioning circuit, not the power circuit, so the air conditioning circuit, and they refilled the gas, and that was enough to get that problem resolved. Now about 1 year later I heard some strange noises, loud noises, some clicking noise when the fan was going, so I had to bring it in again, and there they actually replaced both the condenser and the fan, and that solved the problem, and it has been working fine ever since. Then there was another rattling, cracking sound that was coming from the front of the car, but it was coming from behind the dash also. That took them a while to locate where the problem was coming from, but eventually they found out that it was coming from the strut braces, and they replaced those strut braces with new ones, and the rattling was gone, the cracking was gone, and I haven't heard that ever since. So again, another problem that they resolved under warranty. I also had a problem with one of these mirrors, so this one wouldn't fold in again, and the mechanism broke, so they had to replace the entire unit. Now I coated my car with a ceramic coating, so that meant that I had to go back in to recoat this part, as when I talked to them they didn't have this piece anymore to replace it. They just replaced the entire unit, so had to take it in for another coating, which was an additional cost, but this was covered under warranty again. Now if we go to Autopilot, I've had my fair share of issues there as well. At first the Autopilot had a hard time getting activated. It took really long. They had to make some adjustments to the camera to do that. Now that was in a period where this issue was known to Tesla, where they had misalignments in the cameras, but even if they knew, they still delivered the cars and had people come back in when they complained about Autopilot not working. Not really customer friendly, but in the end that got resolved. Now then all of a sudden I was driving on the highway and suddenly I saw Autopilot speed reduced to 90 kilometers an hour, which was strange because I didn't see any limitation. There was no speed limit or anything. It was just limited to 90 kilometers an hour wherever I was driving. So I called Tesla because I couldn't figure out what was going on. They checked and they told me that apparently some engineer in the US got a red flag on my car that there was something wrong with Autopilot, and they remotely reduced my maximum speed that I could use on Autopilot. Now, it was again a camera alignment that needed to be done, but it wasn't sufficient to just do the alignment anymore. They had to put a little block in between that has a slight angle so that the camera was pointing in the right direction again. Second time I had issues with Autopilot, I was getting a massive amount of errors like Autopilot not available, side cameras not available, lane change not available, and it was popping up and going away and popping up again, so it was really inconsistent. So I was really worried about maybe it being something loose in the cables or something like a loose contact, something like that. But again, Tesla investigated. I had to provide many examples and timestamps of when exactly that happened so they could find it in the logs, and eventually they had to replace this B-pillar side camera. And yeah, apart from having the camera being blinded by the sun or with condensation on it, then it's also not working for the lane change, for example. But Autopilot has been working consistently ever since, and yeah, there not really have been any mechanical issues or replacements on the cameras since. Also, one of the ultrasonic sensor brackets that came loose, the one that is on the wheel well or near the wheel well, so that one came loose, and that gave a bunch of issues with auto parking or the lane change, because at that point the lane change was still using the ultrasonics and not yet the cameras. So that needed to be replaced as well, again under warranty, and yeah, that has also been fine since. Now we're getting close to the end, and my final pickle is the one with the MCU. So I have Autopilot 2.0 with MCU 1, but that also means that I have had issues with the yellow borders. So when I had the car, the yellow borders started appearing about 1 year into its life, and then Tesla, I complained about it. Tesla replaced the screen. They did not replace the entire unit, just the screen itself. That was fine for about 5 months, I believe, and then again I had the yellow borders, so Tesla replaced the screen again, and then a couple of months later again the yellow borders, and that was the point where Tesla already said like, okay, we're not going to replace the screens anymore, we're going to wait for a permanent fix. Right now I can go in June, early June, to get this fixed, and hopefully I can get my hardware tree installed at the same time. Now, other than that, of course, as many of you know, the MCU is sluggish and borderline unusable, but the navigation, that was still something that should be able to be used, of course. And at one point I had a huge problem with the navigation, that as soon as I enter a trip with a supercharger that needed to be calculated, it couldn't calculate it anymore. Even if that trip had just one stop, it wasn't able to calculate it anymore. And I cleared my history and everything, and it didn't work. So I checked in with Tesla, and what they did is they tried to clear the cache because they were looking into the cache files, and it's like, okay, there's no room left on your entire device. It's an MCU1, we know it's sluggish, we know it's slow, but it should be working. And this is probably because you don't have any memory left on there. So we're going to clear the cache. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. It just takes a little bit longer for the map tiles to load, but I don't care about that as long as I get my navigation working. Now, while they were clearing that map data, they also, or those map tiles, those cached map tiles, they also accidentally deleted the maps that are being used on the binnacle display. So this was just after I got the new navigation data, or the latest update from the navigation data with the new navigation system. So yeah, it was still working in Belgium, but it wasn't working in any other country that I was driving to. So I called Tesla, say, okay, this is what's going on. You guys cleared the cache, you cleared some information that was not supposed to be cleared. And my car was out of warranty at that time. And they actually tried to charge me to get that fixed, to investigate that. Even when I asked, well, could you just send me the download of the maps again? And I think that will solve the problem. So it was just hitting the button. Even that was supposedly a paying action, they claimed. So again, needed a few escalations to talk that through with the service manager. He was fully understanding of the problem, and they just sent the download again. And yeah, that actually solved the problem. Monthly service visits were part of the deal for me for many months, basically until the end of the warranty. And then because everything is really expensive with Tesla and they charge a lot by the hour, I started to learn to live with some rattles and noises as well. But one thing I can say is the drivability of the car has never been affected. So even though I get reduced charging now, up to 108 kilowatts fast charging, DC charging, the car has never let me down on any road trip, on any trip. It's always been perfectly drivable, perfectly comfortable while driving. And yeah, it's been a joy to be able to drive it that way. It's just too bad that I've been having so many issues with the car. And yeah, I'm hoping that I've seen the last of the issues in those 40 months. And yeah, everything is going to be fine after this. There you have it. I hope you found this a useful video with the things that have happened in the past 40 months on my car specifically. I hope you had better luck with yours, of course. And as always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click that little bell icon so you don't miss out on any new videos that I try to post every single week. And for now, thanks for watching. See you guys on the next one. Bye bye.